Let's move on to the next core alpha inhibitor that's at the base of the triangle, PIAI, or porn-induced alpha inhibitor. Basically, this one's all about your dopamine receptors. And it's so important because it'll take more and more extreme things to get your dopamine levels to where they need to be to maintain an erection if you're addicted to high-speed internet porn. And you can actually get to a place that you can't get an erection even if the scene is super extreme and super explicit. This is when guys really start to freak out, when they can't even get an erection to porn, which is why we call it the porn-induced alpha inhibitor. You see, your brain cannot tell the difference between high-speed internet porn and the real thing. So your brain is thinking that you are acting out all these extreme sexual acts compiled back to back with an unlimited amount of sexual partners, all on demand without any seduction or effort on your part. In the world our grandfathers lived in, you would just simply get hard at the shape of a woman's curves. Just the scent of her would drive you crazy with sexual desire. But in the modern world, when you are constantly taking dopamine hits from high-speed, high-definition internet porn, it can completely tank your body's ability to produce enough dopamine during a real sexual encounter to get a solid erection or maintain it, leaving your partner completely disappointed and unsatisfied. And usually when you have a hard time getting hard for the woman you're with, but she sees you can get hard from high-speed internet porn, she starts to feel ugly, unwanted, and alone. She thinks to herself, why can he get hard to porn, but not to me? You still find her attractive, but her curves and scent are no longer enough to release the amount of dopamine that your body is now used to, due to all those hours of watching high-speed internet porn. Now when you're with a real woman, she can't help but compete with that. She can't produce that much dopamine for you because in your brain, you hooked up with 1,000 women this week. Just a huge 1,000 girls on one guy gangbang with you as the star. So your brain is now like, why should I even get excited for this woman in front of me when all of the other girls this week just started blowing me without me having to do anything? A lot of times, this can bring a guy to even stop wanting to have real sex. Until, of course, even the porn itself can't get him hard anymore. This is usually when I get the call. But this time it was from the woman. This woman I'm thinking of in particular reached out to me because her man was so addicted to porn that the only way he could now get aroused was being a spectator. When you train your brain and your neurons to only get aroused watching others have sex, like in porn, it can reprogram your dopamine receptors to only engage from the outside looking in. She went on to tell me that he can now only get hard watching her play with herself. But he can no longer penetrate her because his dopamine receptors were so trashed that he just couldn't stay hard long enough to even enter her. She said the craziest part is that he would just masturbate as he watched her. But as soon as she begged him to actually have sex with her, he would take 2 steps toward her and lose his erection. This was extremely frustrating and confusing for her. So she started regularly cheating on him and eventually divorced this man, even though in every other way they were perfectly compatible. An even better example is one of my first clients that reached out to me. He was 19 years old, suffering from severe erection failures. When we were able to connect, he said that he was addicted to porn, but he had been doing No FAP for over 90 days. But his erections were even worse than before he started No FAP. Now, for those of you who don't know, No FAP is when you abstain from both porn and masturbation from usually 90 days or more in an effort to reboot your brain's dopamine system. We had to dive deeper into his erection ecosystem and discovered that there were several core alpha inhibitors at play here, such as PAAI, MWAI, PIAI, just to name a few. This is why, even though he had completely removed high-speed internet porn from his life, he was still experiencing erection failures that were even worse before he stopped. After pinning down the other alpha inhibitors that were causing his additional problems, we were able to resurrect his erections back to their former glory. And he's now rocking the best erections of his life. He's finally able to last as long as he wants in the bedroom as well. But the thing that he's actually most excited about is that by addressing these other aspects of the IPM ecosystem, he now has a refractory period that's almost non-existent. Basically, he reported that he can recover almost immediately after ejaculating now, which is something he couldn't even do before. And his woman has made several comments about his racehorse-like stamina. And this makes her feel extremely sexy and desired. When he can recover from ejaculating so quickly, combined with the fact that he just can't keep his hands off of her as he goes for that second and third round. He finally feels in control of his sex life and erections and can now truly enjoy his best sexual years for the rest of his life, now that he's mastered his erections by understanding and mastering the impact point matrix. The sad truth is 52% of men worldwide are experiencing some form of erectile dysfunction today, which is unprecedented in world history. In 1945, less than 5% of men reported erectile dysfunction. Today, it's 52%. That's over 1,000% increase in erection failures in the last 75 years alone. That's over a 10% increase a year and is rising at an exponential rate. And the worst part is that this is just what's being reported by the men who are willing to admit it publicly. I'm sure the numbers are way higher than that. And this is affecting men younger and younger, because young men that are 12 and 13 now have access to this internet porn 24/7 for free. And it severely damages their dopamine receptors as their brain is developing, which is why we are now starting to see more and more young men have serious erectile dysfunction. You combine high-speed internet porn with all the other dopamine triggers we have in our modern world, like social media alerts and Netflix. Basically everything in our modern world that gives you on-demand, instant gratification. You can now see how even your dopamine receptors play a role here in the IPM erection ecosystem, and it is not an isolated issue. This is something that affects several other areas of the ecosystem because they're all intimately connected. So let's move on to the next core alpha inhibitor, which is PAAI, or Performance Anxiety Alpha Inhibitor. Hey man, I hope you really like this video segment on the impact point matrix, or IPM for short. I am sure you're wanting to learn more about all the different areas of the IPM ecosystem behind your erections. If you want to check out the full training, go ahead and click the link or green button located somewhere below this video to register for your free 24-hour access pass to this brand new, updated, full training. In this training, we dive deeper than I have ever gone before into the ecosystem behind your erections, so you can start getting throbbing, stage 4 rock hard erections on command and last as long as you want in the bedroom, without any drugs, irreversible surgeries, or injections into your member. So you can finally experience complete control over your sexual function and pound through wave after wave of orgasmic contractions from your woman. And finally claim your birthright of being the man that she admires and loves both outside and inside the bedroom. The full package, so to speak. So don't wait another second and make sure you snag your free 24-hour access pass while it's still free and on your mind right now. And I will see you on the other side.